Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of the On the FinSide podcast with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, as well as the finfanatic.com website and the Fansided Network. Paul, 33-10 today. You predicted a 4-point win for the Dolphins. I predicted a 4-point loss for the Dolphins. And even
wasn't I 27-17? I thought that's where I settled.
You were 21-17. I was 17-13 Panthers. And the final score, 33-10 Dolphins. And I would argue strongly that it should have been a bigger butt kicking than it was.
You wouldn't be arguing with me. Like this game was nowhere near as close as the score. Like, wow. That was the team I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out the DJ Moore 64-yard catch, the quarterback rating of the Panthers quarterbacks would have been 0. And if you put in the DJ Moore catch, it would have been 13.4. I mean, so let's recap the game here. In the first quarter, Duke Riley absolutely dominated the first half. He strip sacked, or no, he didn't strip sack, but it was a 3rd and 6 for the Panthers, and Duke Riley basically punched Robbie Anderson in the face on a 3rd down. And then after that, he blocked a punt on the next play to make it 7-0 Dolphins. After that, it was a 64-yard completion from Cam Newton to DJ Moore, their only play of the game. And then the Panthers made it 7-7 after that. Xavier Howard had an interception to make it.
I got to jump in, though, before you move on from that punt block. That punt block was so creatively designed. Motioning in the corner that was going to block the gunner, freaked out that wingback, who just basically said, "Forget my inside protection. I gotta block this guy," and no one picked Duke Riley up. He went untouched because they freaked out about that creative play that I haven't seen anybody run before, as far as motioning that guy in like he was going to block the punt. That was a well-designed play. Loved it.
And then Duke Riley was late getting on the field too. Mm-hmm. So, and by being late getting on the field, he was able to sneak his way on there. I'm not sure if that was by design or not, but that was the tone setter for the game. After it was 7-7. Xavier Howard had the interception, returned it back to the Panthers 10, and after a couple of penalties, Tua to Jalen Waddle connection made it 14-7, and a couple of drives later, Tua connected with Waddle over the middle in a beautiful seam pass for 57 yards, and then Myles Gaskin in a Wildcat made it 21-7. And that was pretty much it. I mean, it was 21-7 at that point. There was a bad snap before the first half that made it 21-10 in favor of the Dolphins. But I mean, this was a butt kicking from beginning to end.
Yeah, no, there was so much to look. I mean, look, you and I talked about this off the air, and I want to bring this up pretty early in the show because the Panthers came into this game with a terrifying set of bookends on defense. And Miami, if you're a Dolphins fan, had a terrifying set of bookends on offense in Jesse Davis and Liam Eichenberg. Now, Eichenberg and Davis both botched a play early in this one, and I have been all over both more so Davis than Eichenberg, with Eichenberg being a rookie that shows some promise. But I have to say, overall, this offensive line today, outside of a very small number of plays, did a very good job of keeping Tua clean, opening run lanes, and for the most part, handling probably the best set of pass rushers that they faced this year.
100% agree. And after the Dolphins' first drive, when Brian Burns whipped Jesse Davis to take him out of field goal range, I thought, okay, here we go again. But then after that, I mean, it wasn't the case. I mean, the Dolphins ran downhill when they were running the football. And
Jesse Davis tried to fight everybody today. I've never seen that before. There were about 4 different times where I thought he was going to get a brawl today.
Yep.
He came out mean and angry, and I loved it.
Good. Yeah, I loved it too. I love it better at left guard, but still, you know, overall, the offensive line played well today after the first drive. I mean, I thought Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns were going to be a major, major problem for the Dolphins at the offensive tackle positions, and they were on the first drive, and after that, they weren't. And that is a big credit to this coaching staff as well as the offensive line.
No, I mean, the play calling was great today. It really was. I love the spark we got from Philip Lindsay, a guy we wanted the Dolphins to grab in the offseason, a guy that we both, as soon as he became available, and I know you and I aren't the type of people that every time a player comes available, we're like, oh my God, go grab him. Chris Greer's draft class was on full display today, and really, there was so much to love and unpack with this game. God, I'm excited.
And let's park on that for a second, because right now, Jalen Waddle, the star of the game, 9 catches for 137 yards, on pace for he's on pace for 109 catches and 1,080 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jalen Phillips has 6.5 sacks after today. He had 3 sacks today in this game. And Javon Holland had a unbelievable interception where he tore off the route from Robbie Anderson. So you're talking about the Dolphins' top 3 picks. And even though I haven't been the biggest Chris Greer fan, the Dolphins' top 3 picks right after today and for the year, when you look at it on paper, good work.
And I hate to say this too, but after what we just talked about, Liam Eichenberg was on display today. I'm not saying he's the answer, but he did a very good job holding down his side, other than one play where he fell over.
Yeah, he did. And he did well last week too. I mean, I still think he's got T-Rex arms and should be moved inside to left guard, but
for our listeners, you have to do a shot every time Kat references arm length.
Arm length, absolutely. But yeah, I'm with you on that.
Hunter Long saw the field. And God, by the end of the game, the Dolphins had whipped the Panthers so heavily that even with probably 60% of their defense being backups, including Noah Igbenogany, who played well when he got in a prevent-style defense, they were still terrorizing the Panthers' offense. And the Panthers, I think, had 198 total yards of offense, 64 of which came on that one play, and I think another 60 of which came against the prevent backups. Good Lord. Like, that's under 100 yards of total offense held by the starting defense.
Yep. And when you look at the Dolphins quarterback position, Tua Tagovailoa, 27 for 31, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 108 quarterback rating. When you look at the Panthers quarterbacks, Not so good. And if you take out the DJ Moore catch, you're talking about a quarterback rating of 0. So, I mean, this was a team. The Panthers were favored to win this football game. And if you take out the DJ Moore 64-yard catch, quarterback rating of 0. I mean,
God. Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you. It's, and, you know, I had some fun with it because, you know, at the end of once Cam Newton got benched, I know I put out there on Twitter, guess what Cam Newton's quarterback rating is today? Boom. 6.
There was 3 minutes left in the first half, and Cam Newton had completed 3 passes to his own team and 2 to the Miami Dolphins.
There was a point where it was even. It was even, and I loved it.
And here's the more important thing about it. Christian McCaffrey, do you know how many catches he had today? 0. Not 1.
35 yards of total offense for him.
35 yards rushing. 10 carries, 35 yards, 0 catches. And if it seems like that we're getting, you know, teary-eyed about a 5-7 team, well, the Dolphins have won 4 in a row, and they held Christian McCaffrey to 0 catches. And they've got the Giants and the Jets in the next 2 weeks, Paul.
And I hate to totally ruin this for some folks when I say this, but CBS actually brought up a pretty intriguing stat line. Tua, I believe he ended up with 87% completions today. It's the first time in Dolphins history that a quarterback has had, I think it's the 2 back-to-back games with 80+% completion percentage. I have to double-check that stat, but that was something that they brought up on the broadcast today. And, of course, they immediately panned up to Marino, and we got to see him spit chew into a freaking beer bottle. But, you know.
Good for him. Good for him. Good for America.
Yeah,
I mean, Tua has had a quarterback rating of 104 or more in 4 of the last 5 games. And he's also had a completion percentage of 80% or more in 3 of the last 5 games. I mean, when you combine that with them playing the Giants and the Jets the next 2 weeks, things could get special here. I mean, even if it's 7-7.
Yeah, and somebody brought up earlier in chat that if the Ravens win the game that's going on right now, and I don't have the current score in front of me, Miami's a game and a half out of the wild card. Do you remember, what was it, 4 weeks ago, when I brought up the fact that Miami's not mathematically eliminated as of yet? And people wanted to roast me?
Yeah, I did, and people dogged you about it, and rightfully so at the time. But looking at the score here, Ravens are going to probably win this game 16-10, and it's going to be interesting heading down the line. But if the Dolphins can get to a spot where they're 7-7, and then after Christmas they play on Monday Night Football against a very beatable Saints team to get to 8-7, completely different conversation. Otherwise, if they lose to one of those 3 teams, it's not even worth talking about anyway.
It's always worth talking about, Kat. It's always worth talking about.
Is it?
You know what I was rooting for in the fourth quarter? And I'll make you happy here. I was rooting for him to move Robert Hunt into the backfield just for one play.
God. Awful take.
It's coming. It's coming.
I do hope that. In fact, Kyle Krabs from the Lockdown Dolphins podcast said that you're taking Christian Wilkins at fullback allows you to save a roster spot, and I 100% agree with that. That's the best that I can say about a fullback position.
You're going to give that credit to Kyle Krabs, because I've been saying that for 4 years before he even got on Locked On.
Yes, you have. No doubt about it.
Don't give that one to Kyle. That one's mine. He said a lot of good stuff, but that one's mine.
Absolutely. Otherwise, Landon Roberts is a backup.
I'm good with that.
I'm done talking about fullbacks. I hate fullbacks so much.
I didn't even bring up fullbacks. I just brought up Robert Hunt in the backfield.
That's why they don't exist. I mean, so let's get to the grades, Paul. Quarterback. I'm going to throw it to you first on this one.
I can't give Tua anything but an A here. His quarterback rating was through the roof. His completion percentage, I just talked about the back-to-back games with 80-plus completion percentage. Didn't make any mistakes really today. I think he ended up with, 3 or 4 incomplete passes? I apologize. I flipped off of that screen. It's, 4 incompletions.
He was 4 incompletions, 27 for 31, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, quarterback rating of 108.3. I'm going to give him an A- on that. He didn't do much down the field, but
he didn't need to.
Everything, he didn't need to. I mean, I still wish the Dolphins' second quarter offensively would be a lot better. Running back, 33 carries for 108 yards, 3.3 yards a carry, but a lot of that was within the offensive tackle position, and they were grinding things out. I mean, there was not a lot to work with, and the Dolphins were not winning by a lot until the second half. So, running back, I'm looking forward to seeing Philip Lindsay a lot more as the season progresses. And I'm looking to, in addition to that, I hope that Philip Lindsay allows Myles Gaskin to be more relevant in the passing game. So I'm going to go with a C+ here.
I'm going to go with a B-. There was a decent amount to like in this one, and I hate to say it, but part of grading this position is inclusive of 2 plays by Durham Smythe in that more H-back type role in what was a fantastic play design. Both carries by Smythe, even though he only had 3 yards, went for first downs in critical moments. And it was a cool play. I don't know what Smythe did. I don't know if he proposed to one of our offensive coordinator's daughters. I'd have to go through, see which of our offensive coordinators have daughters of a legal age. And now they just went, we got to get him more involved so we can get him paid. But I wish somebody would look at me the way our offensive coordinators look at Durham Smythe. That's all I'm going to say there.
What I like about Durham Smythe is that there's that rollout play with Tua where he dumps the ball off to Durham Smythe, where he's blocking as the 6th offensive lineman, and then he peels out to the edge, and then he catches 4 passes for 40 yards in the game.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a really good signing for somebody in the offseason because he's not going to come back to the Dolphins. I'll tell you that right now.
One other thing I want to add, too, and this is something that I really like with Philip Lindsay, was the dedication that he put into blocking in the passing game today. Mm-hmm. He was a very effective blocker, a very willing blocker, and he was part of what helped give Tua that clean pocket so many times today against a very highly ranked defense.
Yeah, he came out with something to prove, and something going back to what we talked about last week is that he is somebody who can get from point A to point B in the gap. And when he's able to do that, he's able to push the pile. And he did that here today on a couple of carries.
And on top of that, too, just to reiterate that point, once Philip Lindsay got in the game and we saw him hit the hole, with just the speed and decisiveness that he did. I hate to say this because I thought Gaskin had a decent game, but it made Gaskin look pretty damn slow when he got back in.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, Lindsay can get from point A to point B, and Gaskin is a lot more methodical. Wide receiver, tight end spot. I mean, this was Jalen Waddle's a breakout game in every sense of the word. I mean, he made plays in traffic. He got down the seam and made a 54-yard catch, which turned out to be one of the biggest plays of the game. I mean, if Jalen Waddle does not make that catch, and he doesn't connect with Tua on that, it's not a 21-7 game. And this game probably doesn't get out of reach for the Dolphins. Biggest play in the game as far as I'm concerned. Mike Gesicki, he's a star when he needs to be. And the conversation that's going to keep going on is whether or not he is worth $15 million a year. I think he is still. But and the other thing too is Will Fuller and Devonta Parker now. Are they going to come back in the next couple of weeks and supplement Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle on the offense? Because if they are, then that's a completely different conversation as far as offensive personnel, because the Dolphins could spread their offense out and Tua can just deal. Because right now he is at a 70% completion rate. So given what Waddle did today, I'm going to go with an A-.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an A- as well. I liked a lot of what we saw from Durham Smythe. I thought they could have gotten Gesicki more involved. Two little plays I just want to bring up. Very early in the game, Preston Williams got a first down, but if you watch it on his one reception, on his one target today, he fumbled the ball around when he hit the ground. And that's a little bit scary for me because he does not have, he's got butter hands these days. So, I mean, he did catch the ball cleanly, but they could have ended up ruling that a fumble even if he was the one that managed to keep it. On top of that, Albert Wilson had a nice catch at one point in this game, and he was past the sticks, and for some reason he bounced it backwards trying to get, what would have equated to 3 extra yards and wound up losing the first down on the play. I know that's nitpicky, but you can't have that happen. And I'm glad you mentioned that about Fuller and Devonta Parker, because the past 4 games where Tua has looked very good and had the completion percentage that he has. Somebody said, say it, Paul, roll fins in our chat, and I love it. But the completion percentage he's had Devonta Parker for 1 game and Will Fuller for 0 games. And he's still getting it done with, Albert Wilson, who nobody's scared of right now, Preston Williams periodically, and say it with me, Kat, we brought the Ford out of the garage yet again today.
One catch for 12 yards.
Yes, sir.
And he bobbled it, but it was an important catch, too.
The Ford came out of the garage again today.
No sign of Mac Hollins, though, on the offensive side of the ball. I was a little bit surprised about that.
Yeah, I barely remember seeing him on the field on offense, mostly special teams, which I don't fully understand because I feel like he's carved out more of a role for himself than either of those guys deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So the Dolphins' wide receiver and tight end position is certainly going to improve when they get Adam Shaheen back, when they get Devonta Parker, when they get Will Fuller back. And now that's where it starts to generate a conversation, because the Dolphins' next 3 weeks, Giants at home, bye week, Jets at home. And then you have a very winnable Saints game, presumably at this point. And then after that, you're playing at Tennessee against Ryan Tannehill. I mean, and the Titans have been, I know they're number 1 seed in the AFC right now, but That looks like a winnable game too, because the Titans have been so bad the last 2 weeks.
Well, and the Titans are missing every skill position player but Ryan Tannehill now.
Yep, no Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown, no Derrick Henry, and who knows if they're going to be back at that point. So, yeah, 100% agree. Offensive line.
I'm going to give the line a B+ today. It's probably the highest grade they're going to get from me this year. There were a couple of issues early that kind of prevented Miami from blowing it wide open, but they settled down, and there were so many plays where Tua was just clean. Holes were there. And this is against a defense that's usually very good at getting to the quarterback. They manhandled, they fought, and they pushed people around today. Miami looked like a damn bully out there, and a lot of that started in the trenches.
That is a good evaluation there as far as pass protection after the first drive. I mean, actually after the first 2 drives.
Yeah.
Jesse Davis was bullied in the first 2 drives. Austin Ryder, I can't forgive him for a couple of bad snaps.
Yeah.
Because he's been a veteran for several years here in the NFL. And
my forgiveness on that.
It was not good enough today. And he also had a very bad pass protection too on, I can't remember the exact play, but yeah, but overall the offensive line played well. I mean, so I'm going to go with a B-.
And we've got to level set a little bit here, because Austin Ryder's what? He came into this. He wasn't even on a roster to begin the year.
Right.
And
he's the third center, and
right.
Cameron Tom came in at the end. Cam Tom came in for you.
Cam Tom came in and saved the day, baby.
In the third half.
Yes.
Or the second half.
Yeah, the third half, whatever. Who's counting? You're thinking of the Bama-Auburn game when you say the third half.
Yep. Yeah. Second half. So let's go to the defensive side of the ball. 18 carries for 64 yards for the Panthers. And this is, again, where it's assumed that Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson is going to come in and just eat up the Dolphins defense on the ground. They didn't. And when you take into account that Christian McCaffrey caught no passes and had only 10 carries for 35 yards on the ground, and nothing else was eventful. And then you factor in as well that, the Panthers quarterbacks had 10 completions and 31 attempts for a quarterback rating of 13.4. I've got to say, this was possibly the most dominant defensive performance I've ever seen from the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it all starts right up front. That defensive line today, the number of passes batted, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I know Miami came into the game leading the league, and I know for damn sure they left the game leading the league. The number of batted passes at the line was insane. The amount of times that they were hitting and decking and terrorizing quarterbacks in this game was insane. Jalen Phillips had 3 sacks, and it easily could have been 6. It's Christian Wilkins was all over the field again today. Emmanuel Agba, swatting passes, decking Newton, you name it, he was there. Andrew Van Ginkel, he doesn't pack a stat line today, but he had a huge impact. Zach Sealer had a monster play in the first half. It's you go up and down the freaking
everybody dominated today. I mean, that's the simple.
Raekwon Davis dominated.
Yeah,
Butler dominated. Butler almost ended up with an interception at the goal line, which probably would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, Adam Butler is becoming a problem for opposing offenses when the Dolphins have the lead. The Dolphins have had the lead for the entire game, or have not trailed over the last 4 games. Adam Butler continues to be a nuisance on the inside. Christian Wilkins is a nuisance on the inside. Jalen Phillips had 3 sacks today. He has 6.5 on the year. And if he gets 3.5 more for the rest of the year, he will be one of just 25 players in NFL history as a rookie to have double-digit sacks. And we see Emmanuel Agba swatting passes away like a fly on a weekly basis. A for me as far as the offense, as far as the defensive line is concerned. Linebacker, I'm going to throw it back to you, Paul.
Duke Riley. Holy cow. He dominated, as we talked about earlier in the first half. Landon Roberts had Cam Newton stood up at the goal line, and his right guard came in and tackled him off the tackle into the end zone. It happens. Jerome Baker, he played a good game today. It's, I like what I saw from our linebacker core, and if you want to count Van a little bit, he played well too. They didn't, in a game where they played against a dominant running back in Christian McCaffrey, one of the better running backs in the entire NFL, they didn't let him get loose today. And there's a lot to be said there. They played a good game. I can easily give them probably the lowest grade of the defense, but I can easily give them an A- in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a B+ on that. And if you don't hear Jerome Baker's name, that's a good thing. I attribute Duke Riley, what he did and his impact, more towards special teams. But he is somebody that should be capped after this year. There's no doubt about that. And Landon Roberts, I
want to dispute that though, because Miami had a huge sack that pinned the Panthers at the 1-yard line and was almost a safety, where Duke Riley was 100% the reason Cam Newton couldn't get the ball out. He came up the middle on that patented Jerome Baker A-gap blitz, and when Newton tried to roll away from him, that's when he got decked by Jalen Phillips.
Yep. After Cam Newton tried to stare down the gun barrel on that play, and then when he couldn't, that's when things collided from the outside with Emmanuel Agba and Jalen Phillips. Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that. Major impact. And I hope that, and I'm not trying to downplay what Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, and Duke Riley have done this year. I am really looking at Devin Lloyd, the middle linebacker from Utah, as somebody that can be a 3-down linebacker to push everybody down a rung at the linebacker spot. Because if you have Jerome Baker at the outside linebacker position, you have Duke Riley and Landon Roberts as the backups, and on special teams, you could have 4 linebackers on your team, and you could be an A at the off-ball linebacker position. But I'm getting way ahead of myself on that. Defensive back, Paul. I'm going to make it simple, A+. I mean, other than one play in the game, which was Byron Jones and Xavier Howard getting confused on a 64-yard completion to DJ Moore on the first drive for the Panthers of the game. I mean, if you
that wasn't the first drive. The first drive was the one with the pump block.
Yeah, if you want to count that.
Yeah. Oh, I count that.
Okay. If you take that play out, they have a quarterback rating of 0 on the day from Cam Newton and PJ Walker. And man, they are so much like glue at the defensive back spot. I mean, Javon Holland, an interception. I mean, Brandon Jones didn't even play in this game, and Eric Rowe just slid right into that spot. And if you take out the spot, if you take out that long 64-yard completion to DJ Moore, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones didn't let up anything. Nick Needham had an interception and was also blitzing constantly. And A+.
Yeah, and really, God, yeah, there's so many defensive backs that played today, but really Eric Rowe, I thought, played mostly his normal role with a little bit of the Brandon Jones role. I thought Nick Needham actually slid more into the Jones role, like you said, with the blitzing even, and played well. You had interceptions from Javon Holland, Xavier Howard, freaking Nick Needham. You had them sticking to players and allowing these sacks to happen in the backfield. And I got to say, Javaris Davis, a guy that you remember me talking about being high on very early in the preseason, he looked like a guy that had the Panthers receivers scared to catch the ball there on that final 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
He was decking people to the point where Nick Needham came off holding his arm, and I'm pretty sure reading his lips, he said something along the lines of, Jesus, that guy can hit. Davis at 5'8", 183 pounds. To put that into context, we have players on 11U football that are bigger than Javaris Davis. And he's out there thumping people like he's Ronnie Lott.
Javaris Davis played opposite Noah Igbenogany at Auburn. Shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also the cousin of Vontae Davis.
Well, so you better call his grandma and tell her he can hit.
Watch out for number 38 the rest of the year.
There's a role for him. There is a role for him.
Yeah, there is a role for him. And Elijah Campbell went out injured reserve, and there's a reason why Javaris Davis was called up for that reason. Because, I mean, Elijah Campbell was on the field before Noah Igbenogany. I mean, and he was on special teams before Noah Igbenogany. And that's not necessarily a shot at Noah.
No, the Dolphins view him as a straight-up boundary corner.
Yep. We talked about him in the pre-draft, too. I mean, he was one of the last invites to the Senior Bowl and was one of the best players at the Senior Bowl at the cornerback spot. It wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be a player.
It shouldn't, because he is a player. And I got to say, Ron, I see you in chat, and I love you, but let's be positive. This was a hell of a game today. And the Dolphins' young players were fully on display in this one. Anyway, go ahead, Kat. Special teams.
Special teams, Pilardi punting, he can really nail the difference between he and Matt Hawk is he could nail people inside the 10-yard line. Matt Hawk can bomb the ball when the Dolphins are trapped inside their own territory. And
Pilardi.
We keep seeing that from what's up?
Michael Pilardi, not Matt Hawk.
Yeah. So Pilardi can corner people, can corner the opposing offense inside their own 10 or 5-yard line. And he did that here today repeatedly. Jason Sanders regrouped. Other than that, kick return, punt return, not a lot. But the big thing, and the reason I give this position an A, is Duke Riley. I mean, that was the game-turning play in this game.
Yeah, and this would be an A+ for me. I'm with you on the A. And I hate to say it, but until further notice, as much as I love Jason Sanders, his nickname for me is no longer the Colonel. His nickname for me, until further notice, is Dong Sanders. And that's not anything dirty, but it has to do with the sound that I've heard from him for too many games in a row when he kicks a ball off of the uprights. And missing an extra point is ridiculous. The Dolphins coaching staff has come out and said, we're working with Sanders. He's preparing the exact way he always has. We've hit the point now where it's a little bit of a problem. And it's not one game or two games. It's several games in a row now. It's a string of games in a row, and it's been a little bit of a blight over the past 5 or 6 weeks, seeing Jason Sanders miss makeable kicks, dinging the ball off the uprights. It's a bit of a worry for me at this point. He needs to get this corrected because you cannot make a playoff push with a kicker that's unreliable.
I would have forgiven the extra point if he weren't nailing 7 out of 10 kicks this year. But that's where we are, because Sanders has never had a problem hitting extra points. And I see so many kickers just airmailing extra points every single week. That hasn't happened with Jason Sanders, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But it seems like all year I'm willing to give Jason Sanders the benefit of the doubt. And it goes back to something that I said in the offseason, is that nailing 18 field goals in a row, most of them close to 50 yards, is a hard thing to do every week. And so I'm willing to see Sanders work these things out moving forward. But it doesn't mean that he did a good job today.
We're starting to hit short leash territory. We're not there, but it's something to keep an eye on at the moment. It's because it's too many games in a row with a little bit of this, a little bit of that problems.
Yeah. 100% agree on that.
Anyway.
Paul, who is your Coke Bus player of the game? Let's start with your player of the game and your Coke Bus player of the game.
Oh, my God. There are so many guys to choose from at player of the game. Whew. I got to go. You know what? I loved what I saw out of Waddle today, but I'm not going to give it to him. I'm going to throw this down up at the fat guy position, and I'm going to throw this to Jalen Phillips. He played such a great game today. His 3 sacks easily could have been 6, as I pointed out before. He defended a few passes today. He dropped back in coverage once and did well. He was all over this field today, and I will throw it to Jalen Phillips with a little bit of a side hug to Duke Riley, but it's going to go to Jalen Phillips here.
Yeah, Phillips, Waddle, Duke Riley. I'm going to give it to Jalen Waddle here. You're talking about a guy who was able to win short. He was able to win long. He was able to win down the seam. I mean, somebody who's right now 77 catches for 762 yards and 5 touchdowns on the year. I mean, in terms of separation, he's exactly what the Dolphins have needed on offense and what Tua Tagovailoa needs. And I was really close to having Tua as a player of the game too. I mean, on the year, 70.5% completion percentage. And when you look at the next 2 weeks, the Giants and the Jets, that completion percentage could actually increase. And the narrative could continue to change, not only on Tua, but on the Miami Dolphins roster. That's going to do it for our breakdown.
Hold on. We got a Coke bus. We got a Coke bus.
Oh, yeah. Coke bus.
I'll give it to you first on this one.
Why do I keep forgetting that? My Coke bus player is going to be Austin Ryder because of a couple of missed blocks as well as a couple of not too good snaps. I think the offensive line overall played really well after the first drive, maybe the second drive. But he was the one guy that today looked like he didn't belong.
Yeah, and I totally cheated throwing it to you first on that one. I was hoping you would take Ryder, so I didn't have to, because I actually kind of wanted to do this based on something I said already during the show. I am going to put Dong Sanders on the Coke bus this week. Yeah, he made 2 field goals, but again, we had little problems with him, and he missed an extra point and donged it right off the upright. So Dong Sanders can get on the Coke bus. This is me starting to put notice on this.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, misses an extra point, and he hasn't done very well over the last couple of weeks. I mean, before this game here, 4 out of 6 games, Jason Sanders has missed a field goal, and those were costly.
Or more.
And then he missed a field goal here, or extra point here today. Just taking a glance here at chat. Just Pem said we can do this 7-7 fins up, and yeah, I think the Dolphins can be 7-7, no doubt about that. I would argue that they've got to run the table at this point, because when you take a look at the rest of the AFC, I mean, the Titans, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Patriots, Bengals, they've all won 7 games. I mean, you're talking about 6 teams that have won 7 games, and the Dolphins have won 5. And we've got, 5 games left to play. So.
And we're on a winning streak.
We're on a winning streak. Absolutely. And the key is that the Dolphins get to 7-7, and I would say they have to go another step further to get themselves in the playoff race, beat the Saints after Christmas on Monday Night Football, and then there is the revenge game against Ryan Tannehill if they win that game.
That's not revenge.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. See, the people. I'm actually to the point with Ryan Tannehill now, where I understand. Like, I could stomach him doing well, and I'm glad that he isn't. But I'm still bitter toward Dolphins fans too. That the year after, when Tannehill was about to go to the Super Bowl, Dolphins fans are saying, "Oh, I'm so happy for the guy. I'm so happy for the guy." I would look at those Dolphins fans and say, I mean, did you go to your ex-wife or ex-fiance's funeral and be like, oh God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy she got married 4 months after she dumped me.
Why does it got to be her funeral? You can be happy for her while she's alive.
Did I say funeral? I meant
yes. You should go to your ex-wife's funeral and be like, I'm so happy she got married, but she's dead, so, we're good.
I meant wedding, but it's past my bedtime. Anyway. What's your...
Good Lord, you went dark on that one, Kat.
I meant wedding, but I ruined that entire joke.
No, you made it great. You took it from good to great on that one. Like...
Still the Titans or 8-4 after today, after they got smoked by the Patriots, and still, I believe, first place in the AFC. I want Ryan Tannehill to fail badly. Okay. And I hope the Titans and he do.
I don't know. I think we should go to Ryan Tannehill's funeral and say we're happy for him. I mean, good Lord. That might be like the best, worst analogy ever.
No. Oh. Yeah, I blew it on that.
We're going to pull that one back out this year, just so you know.
I meant to say wedding, but yeah.
Too late. That analogy is going down and getting used again at some point this season.
I blew it. So, Paul, any other positive thoughts from tonight?
No, it's one thing I just want to bring up because I know I saw a lot of this in chat. It feels good that even though Miami's not going to win Rookie of the Year on either side of the ball, the fact that we've got rookies playing well enough that at least fans can talk about it. Micah Parsons could basically break his kneecaps, and he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Potentially, he's in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And Jalen Waddle is going up against a pretty stout class of offensive rookies this year. But the fact that he's in the conversation for folks and probably in the top 10 for it, the fact that he's going to probably have over 1,000 yards and 100 catches on the season as a rookie is awesome. And one thing I will say, I know some people are debating about the Mike Gesicki thing. I would still re-sign him, even if you just convert him to a wide receiver and, keep 3 or 4 of our 8 other tight ends. Just convert Mike to a wide receiver. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, so here's the big question, and I'll 100% agree with you on re-signing Gesicki. Would you re-sign Emmanuel Agba if we're talking about 13 or 14 million a year?
How many years?
3.
Yes.
Okay.
3 is my magic number with Agba.
I am really torn on that. I would have to lean toward no, but it's only because I think the Dolphins have so many frontline players. They've got an overabundance of defensive tackles with Christian Wilkins, with Raekwon Davis, with Adam Butler, with Zach Sealer. So that's a really interesting discussion for the offseason, and I think it will be also for the Dolphins.
So here's my thing with the Emmanuel Agba piece and with the Mike Gesicki piece. If you re-sign those two, you can truly dedicate and focus your time and your energy. Like, you re-sign Agba, you don't have to touch the defensive line this offseason. You just don't. There's no reason to. Unless something just falls in your lap and otherwise you don't have to touch the defensive line at all.
If they front load the contract with Agba, then I would be in favor of it because the Dolphins have projected $70 million in cap room.
See, I'd want to backload only because the way that I see this cap going up ridiculously over the following 2 seasons.
I would not want to pay Agba into his 30s. That's where I'm at on him. I think he's in his prime of his career right now. He's playing healthy, he's playing well, but there are very few 31, 32-year-old edge players that are doing what Emmanuel Agba is doing. So that's why I'm not willing to pay him, 13, 14 million a year in the future. But we'll see. I mean, it makes sense because right now we saw today Emmanuel Agba and Jalen Phillips at the edge position. Very few teams have that. Very few teams are able to bring the blitz like the Dolphins did today and give so many different looks as well. So we'll see.
Now, where's your tap out point for Gesicki?
It's odd because tight end or wide receiver. 18 million a year.
I think I had 17 and a half in my head where I start thinking about tapping out. So I'm with you on that. And my thing with him is he's very much a positionless player on offense. And you can move him all over the place in ways that you can't with some of these other guys and do it effectively. And there is definitely a role for him. And to be honest, if you re-sign Gesicki, I franchise Agba. If you re-sign Agba, I'll franchise Gesicki and let him fight about which position it is.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the numbers on that. If you're talking about an edge player, it depends whether he's a defensive end or an outside linebacker when you calculate that.
He's a defensive end.
Yeah, he's definitely a defensive end. So you're talking about 18 million, 19 million a year on a franchise tag.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same argument that Gesicki would have to get called a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see. I mean, Gesicki and Agba certainly have earned the right to be extended or to be franchised. So we'll see how that unfolds. And Paul, does anything else jump out from you at the from the chat or from the Dolphins' 33-10 win over the Panthers, a 23-point victory?
Nothing. I'm just feeling good right now. I'm loving it. Can't wait for the rest of the season. It's Miami is heading in a good direction, and I'm excited to see where they take this train right now, especially with the way they're playing. I think people can back off Greer a little bit, and I'm starting to look at the coaching staff and think they might have started to figure it out. So, yeah, I'm excited at the moment.
Me too, and the Dolphins are favored in the next two games, and the expectation is that they get to 7-7, and then things could potentially get fun. And I'll leave with a comment from chat from Ron. Gesicki draws the coverage, guys, and that's exactly right. And that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins' 33-10 win over the Panthers. I'm Brian Cat, NFL on Twitter. Paul is Fanatic_pick. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, as well as the FanSided Network and the FinFanatic.com website. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the Fin side.